Welcome to the When It Matters podcast, brought to you by Kirkwood Bank and Trust. This podcast provides in-depth interviews with business owners and banking experts about how to better your financial health and be prepared for the moments that matter. I'm Jared Auer, branch manager and loan officer of our downtown Bismarck branch location. Today's guest is JoDell Bourgois, senior trust officer for Kirkwood Bank and Trust. JoDell, thanks for being here today on the When It Matters podcast. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Jared. I'm happy to be here.
We've worked together here at Kirkwood Bank for the last 10 years or so, and I know you have over 25 years experience in the trust and asset management part of the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Well, I grew up in a small town on the Canadian border and graduated from Minot State University with a degree in accounting. Prior to starting here at the bank, I worked in trust and asset management in the private world, specifically for one family. During that time, I did a little bit of everything in the office, and I developed a level of experience in the trust arena.
JoDell, you hear of the word trust, Kirkwood Bank and Trust. What exactly do you guys do in the trust department?
Well, like I said, we probably do a little bit of everything, depending on what the day is. But our key position is to manage assets, in whether they're in trust or in a different other type of relationship, on behalf of those that may not be able to manage them themselves. So we have trust accounts, we have personal trusts, we have special needs trusts, we do conservatorships. We do personal representative, just a little bit of everything. So you never know, you never know what your day is going to bring. But I think the bottom line is that our job is to act in the best interest of those we serve and those that are unable to do it for themselves.
How have you seen things change since you began your career?
I would say the biggest change since the start of my career has been the advancement of technology. Today, information is readily accessible in a few seconds, just a few keystrokes away on our phone. So there are no more trips to the library for research. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, with that also comes a large increase in the potential for scams and financial fraud.
Sure. What are some of the common types of scams and fraud that are affecting people today?
Well, we see a various number of scams here in the banking world, different levels. Some of them are quite simple. Some of them end up being rather complex. A few of the more complex ones we maybe don't see as often are like investment scams, charity scams, insurance scams, tax scams, typical IRS scam that you might get that message on your answering machine. You will be arrested if you do not pay your past due taxes, or you will be arrested or deported, or something similar type language from the IRS. And that's a very common scam. Those can be somewhat complex. But there are a couple more simple ones that I see more common in the banking world, and especially more common in the elderly population. The first one is a giveaway and lottery scam. So we are all familiar with this one in suddenly you receive that voice message saying, hey, you won the prize, send $1,000 to claim your prize, or you owe taxes on a large giveaway, you've won the lottery, that sort of thing. Those are very common in the elderly population and something we've probably all seen or heard of, affecting maybe somebody we love. The second one that we see quite regularly are what we refer to as imposter scams. So one is the grandparent scam. A lot of people are familiar with that one as well. So grandma picks up the phone, and on the other end she hears her grandson say, hey, grandma, I'm happy to talk to you, but guess what? I have a problem. I'm in Florida. I lost my wallet and I can't get home. This is so embarrassing. Please don't tell my parents, but could you please wire me $900 ASAP so I can get home? Or I've been charged with marijuana possession and I didn't really do it, but grandma, I need $1,000, send me the money. And this really plays at the heartstrings of the grandma on the other end, and a lot of emotions are involved. And unfortunately, a lot of elderly fall prey to these types of scams. A second type of imposter scam we hear a lot about is what we refer to as the romance scam. So the gentleman who may be a little bit isolated and feeling somewhat lonely, suddenly on Facebook he's got a new friend and he thinks she's rather good looking, and she starts to call him, and now he's interested in her, and she is again playing deep on the emotional scale, trying to pull at his heartstrings and trying to tell him of all the good things that could happen if he sends her $1,000 to fly to North Dakota to live with him or to visit him or that sort of thing. And that, again, due to the emotional play, it really affects the elderly, and they quite easily fall prey to these types of scams.
Sure. And some of them have gotten really sophisticated. I mean, like you said, the imposter scam, almost mimicking someone's voice too. Like it's almost so real and surreal that in the moment you're just like, you just fall victim to it, What are some of the warning signs you see in some of these scams and fraudulent activity, I guess you could say?
One of the biggest red flags is the immediate action required. Send money now. Send money up front. Get it here as soon as possible. And mixed with that is often the insistence of secrecy, required secrecy. Don't tell anybody. Please don't tell my parents. Please don't tell your son or daughter about our relationship and that I'm going to come and live with you. They may think you're making improper decisions. They may not think you're able to control your funds anymore, that sort of thing. Also, that immediate need for upfront money. In order to stay out of jail, you must pay the IRS your back due taxes of $1,000. Or in order to win the prize, you owe taxes of $900. Please wire money as soon as possible. Those types of things. And finally, the payment methods are typically very hard to track. So they may say, please send $10,000 Amazon cards. Please send a large money order. Please send a cashier's check, or go to the local wire transfer service and send $900 immediately. And just as immediate as that money is wired, it's gone.
Yeah. Sometimes the smell test, like if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. I had a customer too that kept bringing in a Jamaican lottery. She got in the mail all the time. She'd always bring it to me. And she got it relentlessly. So they can be relentless too, in their pursuit.
Very complex and very relentless. Once you may answer any sort of phone call, you may answer any questions, then your name is out there. And those calls are relentless, and they continue to come.
Sure. We hear the term elder abuse, especially in the banking industry. In your words, what exactly does that mean?
Elder financial abuse is a type of elder abuse in which there has been misuse of funds or even the control over those funds in a relationship that there's some established sort of trust, and this in the end ends up harming the elderly person. So there are a couple types of ways that this elder financial abuse is committed. The first one, it may be committed by a scammer or identity theft, as we've been discussing. But unfortunately, the most common is when the elder financial abuse is committed by a family member, a caregiver, or a loved one. Oftentimes, up to 90% of the elder financial abuse cases do involve, unfortunately, a family member or loved one.
What do you do if you suspect someone is being financially exploited?
First step I would recommend is to report it to your bank. This is going to throw that red flag up, and the bank will monitor the account and should hopefully try to alleviate any of the loss potential that's out there that might be involved in the scam. Second, report to law enforcement and to local adult protective service agencies that might be available in your community. But most importantly, speak up, tell someone you trust, and don't be embarrassed. 1 out of 14 cases are actually reported, and so you can see that most oftentimes people don't feel comfortable speaking up, and usually that's due to the fact of embarrassment.
One thing that's nice about having a community bank like Kirkwood Bank is that we get to know our customers really well. So we can look out for some of that stuff, and we get to know them so well that we can see when things are just out of the ordinary. This just isn't right.
Right, and oftentimes our frontline staff are instrumental in preventing scans or even stopping a scan right when it's actually happening.
Well, thanks so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure having you on the When It Matters podcast.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Jared.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the When It Matters podcast. Subscribe for new episodes and connect with us online at Kirkwood Bank and Trust on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And for more information or to speak with one of our financial experts, visit kirkwoodbank.com. Kirkwood Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.